Smooth 98.1 Lagos, Nigeria world. Here we are, gone past 6:30 for a Monday morning. My, how the weekend flew by. But it's all good because we've got the business update and what's going on with the economy from Rotus here on Business Express. Rotus, how you doing? Good morning. Welcome to a new week.
Yes, a new week indeed. Good morning, Shokwe. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers out there. Glad to kick off, I think, final week of October.
It is the final week, pay week, Rotus, pay week. Let me not wiggle my eyebrows at you. So, good week for us all. All right, so people, join this conversation. It's going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about the action plan of the APC's presidential candidates and more. So join us up on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. If you're already there, then you make sure you leave your comments up on the live stream. Let us know how you feel, what you think, and what you would like to see or hear from him. You can also use the hashtag Business Express 981 up on Twitter and tag at Smooth 981 FM to get it into the right place. And you can send WhatsApp messages to 0809 440 981. All right, Rotus, Tinubu, we've been waiting for this. So
Yeah, we went through the plan for the opposition presidential candidates, Atiku Abubakar of the PDP. And so now we have the plan from the ruling party candidates. I call him the Batman, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Batman
Yeah, I
laughs
do.
at you, Rotus, but okay.
I do. And Lagos is Gotham City, right? So he kicks off it's an 80-page plan. It's a lot in there, and it kicks off with security. And I don't know if you saw this security alert from the US embassy that's been floating
Mm-hmm.
around. Yeah, saying that there's an imminent attack in Abuja, and I don't know if it said imminent, but they said people should be on alerts and no, if you don't have to travel, don't walk around in crowds and so on and so forth. So I mean, it shows you that security is still top of the line. So whereas Atiku's plan ended with security, Atiku started with the economy. Tinubu starts with security first, and then he goes into the economy after that. So on security, he says that they want to upgrade the security apparatus of the nation. And I think he talked about, I quickly summarize some of this here: anti-terrorist battalions, upgrade weapon systems, integrated identity database, and then improve salaries and welfare of the members of the security apparatus. That's just a quick summary of what he plans to do. He then said, interestingly, on the police, police personnel will be freed from extraneous duties such as VIP security and guard duties. VIP security and provision for security for government buildings, installation, and other critical assets will be transferred to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the NSCDC. And a lot of governors, former governors, Tinubu himself, if you drive past his home in
You see
Ikoyi,
this
there's a
police detail.
24/7 stationed police vehicles and police officers there as well. So I guess he's saying that will end once if he wins and his administration begins. Then on the economy, very interesting. It says the allocation of revenue between the federal and state governments will be adjusted to give the states greater flexibility to foster grassroots economic development. What does that mean? Is he saying, I mean, if you think about the allocation of VAT, value-added tax, that is split, is that going to be more will be allocated to the states? The Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, the Federation account, the way that is split, will more money be given to the states? So he wants to give the states greater autonomy. I don't believe he said anything about restructuring in his plan to where states are independent and can set their own taxes. Is he also talking about that as well? So it's not, the thing is, actually very quickly, just like Atiku's plan, there's a lot of we will do this, but there's really not a lot of how. And a lot of
You don't like to put that out there. They're like, well, if
yeah,
it's great, let's not give it out for people to copy. Seems to be the.
well, for us, we want to know how these things are going to be
We would love to know the how.
established. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What else? GDP is saying that we are looking at 10% GDP growth, which is which is pretty ambitious. I think he has a chart in his plan. It goes from 400 billion now in 2020. Well, sorry, 400 billion as of 2021.
2021 up to 2027.
Yeah, 780 billion. I mean, it almost wants to double. That's almost doubling Nigeria's GDP, and that means you want to grow faster than China, faster than. I mean, the two countries.
That's pretty ambitious, but also we have a lot of resources at hand. I mean, is it feasibly ambitious?
Well, look, I mean, look, 2023, he wants to get us to 533 billion.
In 2023, where he's got half of the year.
Exactly. So that's the thing. How do you do that when you still have infrastructure constraints and you're not exporting more oil? In fact, by the way, speaking of oil, I think I sent you. Did you see the goal of where he wants to get oil production to? I don't know if you have that. If you want to read that out for the.
Looking at it, so the goal to increase crude oil production to 2.6 million barrels per day by 2027 and 4 million barrels per day by 2030.
Yeah. So that means that you have to, because we haven't done 2.6. I mean, that is, we've been doing 2 million. We've been at 2 million. Now he wants to get us to almost 3 million and then 4 million by 2030.
We've been at 2 million.
Well, oil theft has been hitting us hard. Our infrastructure is aging. You've got oil and gas companies that are moving offshore from onshore. How he intends to do that.
We've been the crude oil equivalent of Benjamin Button.
Right. Exactly. So, he says clamping down on oil theft is how he plans to do that. Again, it's an ambitious plan. But Sope, one of the real things that stands out.
I mean, Rotus, hold on. I would just like to say, I'd love to see the move away from crude oil to light gas. We're seeing how many people would love to buy gas from us. I would love for us to start selling it.
He wants to also increase gas production. He mentions that in the plan as well, to where gas production should be increased. Again, how we go about doing that, I guess the gas pipelines, our resources, he wants to increase that as well. He says he will. But the budget, it's crazy how time is flying here. Very, very quick, let me read this on the budget. He says, budgetary custom bases our annual budget. Budgetary custom bases our annual budget and fiscal policies largely on the dollar value of projected oil revenue. Not only does this practice artificially restrict the federal government's fiscal latitude, it also unduly attracts the nation's attention towards a single source of fiscal revenue to the detriment of others. To achieve optimal growth in the long term, we must wean ourselves from this limitation. A more efficient fiscal methodology would be to base our budgeting on the projected level of government spending, which optimizes growth and jobs without causing unacceptable levels of inflation. What he's saying there is that he wants to get rid of the oil benchmark. So basically, how we set our budgets. We base our budgets on oil sales because that's how we make money. So, you've set a budget benchmark of $60, $65 per barrel. You assume you will make X amount of money from that oil benchmark, and then you set your budget accordingly. He is saying do away with that, and that you should set your budget according to your spending priorities. And he mentions the European Union. The European Union kind of has a system where the member states agree how much of a budget they should set for a particular year and spend. So he wants to spend a lot of money. And the thing is, that means that there's some inflationary worries. If you're saying that you're not using oil benchmark and you just want to, so if I want to spend 30 trillion naira in a year or 40 trillion, well, that's how much I need and I'll set it there. He also mentions an inflation cap on spending. Not sure how, he needs to get into more specifics, but that's one of the most ambitious and most radical and most, really brave, beat your chest parts of the plan. And he then says he wants to use that, based on that budget, the government to employ millions of youth for infrastructure, which means that he wants to use the government to spend a lot to employ people for infrastructure purposes. Again, very ambitious. How that will work, what happens after the infrastructure is built, where do they now go? Things like that. That's part of what one has to investigate. I mean, he also says he'll phase out subsidies on power, they're going to continue the what we talked about on Thursday or so, the presidential power initiative. They want to continue there. What is interesting, the subsidies, they said they want to phase it out. Meanwhile, the Buhari administration says subsidies will end in May or June of next year. But the Tinubu administration, they say if they win, they will phase out subsidies. So that tells me that won't be yanked away. On the exchange rate,
what that senator was saying, that you can't make the next administration's decisions for them.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot in that plan. There's a lot in there.
We've got people weighing in, so let's just put a pause on this and see what they have to say. So I'll start off with this one from Lennon, who says, whilst 10% GDP growth rates are very possible in an infrastructure deficit nation like Nigeria, because we have so many massive growth areas like mining, technology, and education, but we have to allow the private sector finance our infrastructure growth. We can crack the double-digit ceiling within 3 years.
Okay.
And Marcel Odibo says, believe me, these guys are just throwing numbers around. There's no actual intelligence behind these numbers. Ogeno Chuko says, on paper, these policies look good, but the implementation is where the problem lies. Besides that, they both have credibility issues. Hold on. And okay. Matthew Afolabi says, I read the plan of the presidential candidate and I don't think there's a lot of how. He wrote how he was going to address the issues facing every sector. Okay. All right. He's still typing. We'll see what else he has to say. Okay. Back to you, Rotus.
This, in fact, on the 28th, remember, I think we talked about the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we talked about when Atiku addressed them and then when Peter Obi addressed them. So on, when is the 28th? Is that Friday? I think it's, Friday. So on Friday, Tinubu is set to speak to the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's going to take questions from the audience, questions from the panelists, and I hope to be there. I was there when Atiku took questions. I was there when what's his name? Peter Obi also took questions as well. So I'll be there on Friday in order to see if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu takes questions. So maybe get more specifics on his plan and how he plans to flesh some of these things out.
All right, let's take a couple more messages before we end the show. This one from Gilbert Musa from Festac says, nice economic plan by the APC presidential aspirant, but let's ask ourselves, what happened to APC's plan of 2015 and 2019? Did it meet our economic expectations? This reminds me of Vision 2020 plan by Yar'Adua's government in 2009 that proposed a GDP of $900 billion by the year 2020. What is our current GDP today?
Right, we're still at 400. So yeah, that's a very good point.
EIA says, I like the policy on security. Can he start now by stopping the police that park in front of his house? Oh, shot. And Jonah says, while this seems to be a good plan, the main issue is that we're not sure that I don't know why you put we. You, Jonah. Jonah is not sure that the presidential candidate himself read the plan. That's usually the problem, says Jonah. It's Jonah that's thinking this stuff. All right, that's all we've got time for Business Express, Rotus. You've heard what the people have to say. We'll be back tomorrow. And so looking forward to hearing what the presidential candidate himself says. Indeed, and, hopefully you'll be able to come back and tell us all that went down. Yeah, so that's it for Business Express. You can find Rotus. He is online at Rotanquote. All right, make sure you go find him. Make sure you ask him questions, because I see you always have so many messages and questions. But we can't take it all during Business Express. That's what Twitter is there for. That's what even Instagram is there for. At Rotanquote. Okay, follow him, find him, talk to him. All right, Rotus. See you tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Sope. Bye.
All right.